marketing is an opportunity, a way of letting the world know that you exist and that your work exists. Then it doesn't have to be self-promotional. It doesn't have to be salesy. It doesn't have to feel uncomfortable. But when we work so hard on creating something, we have to talk about it in order for people to know about it. It doesn't just kind of magically happen. And so the longer that we take to start talking about it, the more we're missing the people that are waiting and they're sitting there waiting and looking for my next thriller book, whatever it is. Like you think no one's thinking that they are. And there's people who are waiting and they're looking on social media and they're looking wherever it may be for you. And if you're not sharing, then you're not getting in front of those people when they need it. And they're asking for it too. So it's not like you're pushy, you're salesy. People get to opt in to what they want and get to make their own purchasing decisions, and you're just presenting it to them.
Welcome to How to Trust Yourself, the podcast for anyone who's done with the endless second guessing and ready to tune in to your inner guidance. I'm Anna Holtzman, and I get that feeling of trudging through life like you're wading through mud, trying to figure out which way to go. In my 20s, I spent more time asking what should I do with my life than writing about crushes or bad dates in my journal. I've tried on a lot of answers: architecture, publishing, editing reality TV for a decade, and finally landing on therapy and coaching, helping people like you connect with your purpose. But here's the thing I've learned through all those twists and turns. Trusting yourself is the key to moving forward, even when the path feels messy. So if you're ready to stop doubting yourself and start listening to your gut, you're in the right place. Let's dive in. Welcome back, dear listener. Today, we're diving into a topic that so many of us wrestle with: visibility. The desire to be seen, to share our creative work with the world, and to make an impact, all while battling the fear of putting ourselves out there. If you've ever felt that tension, you are not alone. My guest today, Shelby Leigh, knows this struggle intimately, not just as a best-selling author and mental health advocate, but as someone who has helped thousands of creatives navigate the often intimidating world of marketing and visibility. Through her work as a marketing coach, she has supported 7,000 writers, artists, and entrepreneurs in finding ways to share their work with confidence and even enjoy the process. Imagine that. In this conversation, we talk about Shelby's own journey with visibility and self-trust, how to market your creative work in a way that feels good and not cringy, the biggest mindset shifts that help authors and creatives show up authentically, and what Shelby is still learning and growing into when it comes to being seen. And whether or not you are an author or a business owner, or simply someone who wants to just trust yourself more as you step into your next chapter, this episode, I promise you, has plenty of relevance for you. Let's get into it. Shelby, it's such a pleasure to meet you after we've been chatting online for a little bit and finding each other because we are both working with the same business coach, which I just think is very cool. Thank you so much for reaching out, and thank you for being here today.
Thanks for having me. I'm really, really excited to chat with you and talk all about trusting ourselves and all the things. So I'm ready.
I'm really excited to chat with you too and learn more about the work that you do and share that with listeners. So I'll just start with the basic question of, can you introduce yourself and share with this audience what you do and also who you help?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. So my name's Shelby Leigh. I still do this, but I started off as an author. I write mental health poetry books. So whenever I tell people I'm a poet, they're like, okay, but what else do you do? But that's what I did for many years. And just focusing on publishing my books and spreading awareness about mental health. It was a very healing genre for me, a way of expressing myself and just writing about the anxiety and self doubt that I was experiencing. So I started publishing books almost 10 years ago and sharing my work online in order to grow my community and find readers and find people who needed the message that I was sharing in my books. And at the same time, I was studying marketing in school and then working some marketing jobs after college, and kind of connecting the dots between how what I'm learning in school and also in my jobs about marketing and branding applied to me as an author when I kind of just felt like I just want to write books. I don't actually want to market them or be visible or any of these things, but I need to if I want to actually have readers of these books that I'm working very, very hard on. So once I kind of unlocked that and figured that out, which was not an overnight thing and took years of trial and error and getting more comfortable being myself and all of that. A lot of people started coming to me and asking me how I was doing it. How was I growing my audience? How was I selling my books? And after a few years of helping people, I started Marketing by Shelby, which is now my company that has taught over 7,000 creatives through my courses and my programs how to market and get visible on social media. And we're expanding into email marketing and talking more about content marketing as a whole, which I'm really excited for. So, yeah, that's a little bit about what I do. I really just want to help other creatives feel confident about marketing themselves because it can hold us back, but we're putting so much effort and time into our creativity. And I want people to make an impact with their work and not only impact, but income as well.
This is your story is such a cool story. I know this is only part of your story, obviously, and this is a nutshell, but it's so interesting. And I love hearing you talk about it. And, I'm tying in my mind, tying your story to who I know are in this audience, the audience who listens to this podcast. And there's a lot of crossover of interests with many of the listeners. I mean, I would say all of the listeners of this podcast have an interest in mental health and, are on a journey with their emotions as I am, as we all are. We're human beings,
Right.
right? Um, Many, not all, but many of the listeners are writers in some way, whether they are journalers, poets, novelists, aspiring published authors. It runs the gamut. Certainly not all listeners, but many of them. Um, there are a number of listeners who have their own businesses, and because of that, they are um, having to market themselves. And there are a lot of coaches too who listen to this podcast. And I hear what you described a lot. And I've certainly, have my own experience with it of like, I just want to do the work that I do and have people come to me. But like, do I really have to put myself out there and like do this marketing thing? So uncomfortable. So regardless of whether, each listener relates to each of those threads or not, I think what all of us human beings can relate to is I wrote down these words that you said, this journey of getting comfortable being myself.
Hmm.
And to me, that is just really ties together the experience of being human and growing up with, growing ourselves up. So I'm coming winding this into a question, which is that something that so many listeners of this podcast struggle with is visibility. And really, so many people struggle with visibility. I often hear from clients, from listeners, something that I can relate to as well, which is that they feel a deep desire to be seen and known and understood and to connect with others. And they have an equally deep fear of being seen and known and what will people think of me? So I'd love to hear you talk a bit about how you've navigated this as an author, as a marketer. And then I'm sure that'll feed into how you help other authors to navigate this as well.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, like I said, I was writing mental health books about self doubt and at the same time trying to get visible when I had so many insecurities. and so much fear around being seen. So something I didn't even mention in the intro is that whenever I was sharing my work online that first year, I did so anonymously because I did not want anything to do with having my name or my face online in any regard. And I don't necessarily regret that because it was a good learning experience, but it was a whole year that I lost of getting my name out there, and people were reading my work, but not actually knowing who the author was. And so, traction was definitely lost there. But whenever I finally embraced that this was something I needed to do in order to make an impact, because I feel like, you can read a poem without someone's name on it, but actually making the connection, being able to follow along with that writer and come along on their journey and get to know a little bit about them. I don't go too deep into everything about my personal life, but like a little bit, enough to connect with my audience. It makes a huge difference. And that's when I really saw my audience start to grow and my books start to sell because I was actually making those connections. So I think the first thing was really just writing down and aligning with my mission as a writer, which for me is helping others feel less alone. If I can write a poem about a panic attack or an anxious moment and have someone else be like, oh my gosh, you put into words how I feel, like that's huge for me. And so knowing that if I'm not sharing my work and not getting visible and showing up as myself, I'm not able to connect with those people who maybe my words could really change their day or change their life, and make them feel a certain way. So I think connecting with your mission is something I talk about with my community a lot, and just getting clear on why you do what you do, because that makes it a lot easier to actually speak to those people and talk to them and help them or whatever it is that you do. So that's the first thing. And then I would say just like baby steps out of your comfort zone. I now do podcasts, that I do a YouTube channel, and I'm on video like every day, pretty much, it feels like. But for the first few years, I was not. And it was a baby step to post pictures of myself like holding up my book and want my face to be shown. And then it was another baby step to film short videos, and another baby step to do live streams. Like that was terrifying for me to be live and speaking to people. And another baby step from there to do podcasts and YouTube and all of those things. So I think just the more that you can take those small steps outside of your comfort zone, it then becomes your comfort zone. And now it's very comfortable for me.
I love that. So I come from a background of a whole bunch of different things because I started off my career in publishing, actually. But, well, briefly in architecture, then publishing. Then I was working in television, but very much behind the scenes as an editor. Um, but my most recent experience is helping people to recover from chronic pain as a pain reprocessing therapist. And one of the core concepts or tools in that work is something called graded exposure, which is exactly what you're describing. So this is gradually exposing ourselves to something that we want to do, but that our nervous system perceives as scary and unsafe. And so it's putting up all these barriers, which can feel like anxiety or panic or just getting distracted or like, oh, look at that. The whole day went by and I was like busy answering emails and I didn't put myself, you know, in front
Mhm.
of other people. So I love how you're describing this, what I'm calling it graded exposure, but it sounds like it's something that I don't know, was it something that you sort of figured out organically or not?
Yeah, no, I haven't heard that term, but I like it. Yeah, and I think it fits in. I call it my small steps. I wrote a self-love journal of small steps to self-love. So I'm all about like the small steps that we can take to get out of our comfort zone. But yeah, I think it's something that I just figured out organically. Like I think the first memory I have is like public speaking and just being absolutely terrified. If I had to public speak, I would just have panic attacks. I had to pull off the side of the road one time on the way to do a presentation. Like it wasn't good. And then I did it and I survived it and it was okay. And then the next time I did it, it was okay. And, just the more that you do something that terrifies you, the easier that it gets in most cases, I guess. I won't speak for every case, but I
Yeah.
think that a lot of the time it just is, yeah, that gradual exposure.
Yeah, it's so cool. It gives your like, I'll just do the nervous system description of it. Like, it gives your nervous system these examples that, oh, maybe it wasn't as life-threatening as
Yeah,
I thought it was. Maybe
right.
it could actually even be fun or enjoyable. Maybe there are rewards here. And I'd love to ask for your perspective on, I think there just are risks and rewards to visibility, right? And the rewards, I think you've been talking about them. Like you can, when you let yourself be seen, you can find your people. And that could just be social connection. That could be an audience for your business. I mean, it could be finding your soulmate. It could be so many different things. Um, and of course, there's also risks. There's vulnerability. And this is why I think it feels scary to so many of us. Um, and I'm curious if, like, did you encounter any of those risks along the way, and how have you navigated that?
Yeah, definitely. I think, and this is something that I hear most often from writers about sharing, is like the fear of their work being stolen, plagiarized,
Mm.
uploaded elsewhere. Like that's definitely a big one, that I won't say doesn't happen. I'd love to say it doesn't happen. But that was a big risk for me. And especially in that first year where I wasn't even putting my name on anything, people stole quite easily. But it's not something that I wanted to hold me back from finding the right people. Like I'd rather um, have, 1,000 readers and one, negative experience of someone, reposting a poem or whatever it may be. But then I still have those 1,000 readers that I wouldn't have had if I wasn't getting visible. So the pros have always outweighed the cons for me. But yeah, I think that's a big risk. Vulnerability for sure. I definitely still have days where I'm like, I feel very exhausted emotionally from like sharing this. Or, oh, is there like this one person in my life that saw this and how did they feel about it? Are they going to like act differently? Like that sort of thing had definitely gotten to me a lot in the beginning and has gotten better, but still creeps up now and again. So, yeah, I would say that those are the big risks for me. But whenever anyone asks me that and it's like, but what's the downside? I'm like, trust me, the upside is so much better than letting the downside stop you from ever getting visible and finding your people.
Yeah. I have to say that's been my experience too. And for me, the fear that's come up most for me and also for I think for my clients, for my friends, is more so the fear of negative comments, like what if I put something out there and I get a negative reaction? And I've experienced that. I've gotten I have an Instagram account where I put out posts and videos of myself talking, and I've gotten some negative responses. But in my case, anyway, they have been so far outweighed by the positive feedback, and the positive feedback goes so far beyond just positive comments. Like, I've made lifelong friends because I've let myself be seen and known, and someone that was like, just aligned to be a really great friend and colleague was recognized that, and we connected and have become really close. So, yeah, those rewards have just so outweighed the risks in my experience also.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think it's so worth taking that risk. And I always say too with the negative comments thing, like there's a block button. If you need it, it's there. Take it.
Yeah.
Don't feel like you have to act a certain way or anything like that. Like it's up to you. You can respond, you can do whatever you want, but the block button is my friend.
Yeah, and that's another tool. So I'll say, like, in my language, which, you may or may not use this term as well, but it's like boundary setting, setting
Mhm.
boundaries, standing up for ourselves, deciding that if someone does come into our space in a way that doesn't feel right,
Yeah,
we'll set a boundary.
absolutely.
Um, in this whole, like, process of learning to trust yourself that you could handle visibility, you could handle putting yourself out there, your name, your face, your voice. Have there been any other, like, tools, techniques, concepts, books, I don't know, like, things that inspired or helped you along the way, um, and that you also share with the folks that you teach through your work?
Yeah, I think I don't know if there's probably a name for it, but just something that I picked up somewhere. I wish I remembered exactly where. Was whenever I do have that fear of like trusting myself, or yeah, feeling like I'm not trusting myself, fear of anything, of not wanting to be visible, um, kind of like writing down all of the times that I did take that step
Oh,
or did
yeah.
trust myself and it worked out. So yeah, I don't know the name for that, but that really works. And I have like a document of list of different examples of things that I've done where I trusted myself, it worked out. And of course, there's been times where I haven't, but I think just reminding myself that more often than not, like I can trust my gut, I can trust my instincts, I can make an educated decision moving forward, has really helped me. And also, I journal all the time. But as a writer, like I love journaling. So I always am reflecting on like what's going well, what isn't going well, how I can improve that. I love reading tons of nonfiction on whatever area I'm currently focused on. I'll read as many books as I can find on the topic and pull from it what I need at that time. So yeah, those are some of the steps besides what we talked about already of like taking those small steps out of my comfort zone. Yeah, those are some other ways that I keep growing.
Yeah, I love that. I do my own version of that too, and because I have all this, like, terminology from the pain reprocessing in that world, that would be like, the note like, recalling all of the times when things did go well or, like, it wasn't
Mhm.
dangerous or, like, the sky didn't fall down and or it actually felt good and then something positive came of it with, um, that pain recovery world would talk about that as collecting evidence. Like,
Mm,
evidence of safety, evidence of
yeah.
well-being, evidence that we're growing.
Yeah, yeah. Good to know the name for
Yeah.
it. I knew it had
I
a
mean,
name.
yeah, I wouldn't say that's, like, the name, like, there's just so many ways to describe all these
Yeah.
things, and our lived experience, I think, is probably the most interesting one.
Right.
Um, I'm also curious if the topic of, like, taking up space comes up a lot with the folks that you help with marketing because, I mean, this is something I certainly navigate and my clients navigate when it comes to marketing and also like selling your work in particular, there's just a lot of fear and stories that come up for people around like, is it safe to take up space? Is it safe to value my own work?
Mm.
All of that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think that's one of the most common things that come up, especially with creatives. Like, I feel like we tend to be more sensitive. We're oftentimes creating something that does hold a lot of space for us and it's potentially very vulnerable. We've put our creative side into it. So it can be really scary to potentially get negative feedback about something that we created from our head and our heart. And so yeah, that can be really heavy for us. And I think taking up space can also be really scary if you are someone who has had doubt about your own work like I have. And like, is it even worth talking about? Like, is anyone going to care? All of those things. um so yeah, I mean, I think it's the baby steps to take up a little bit of space and see the reaction and know that, okay, I put myself out there, even if there is no reaction and you don't get any, engagement at first, that can stop a lot of people from wanting to keep showing up because growth can be really slow. Whenever we're building a community, we're talking about years of time, not days. And so I think that fear of like silence or no reaction can be just as scary as like a negative reaction too, and feeling like you're not really even
Totally.
talking to anyone or reaching anyone. Um, so yeah, I mean, yeah, take up space. Like our work is created for a reason. And in order for the right people to find it, we have to talk about it like point blank. Um, and so just small steps, just start talking about it a little bit more. Um, and engage with others too, like make those connections in your industry, outside of your industry, like whatever kind of calls to you, like comment on people's posts. Like that's kind of the way that you get some engagement back, especially in the beginning. If you are talking to no one,
Yes.
building those connections goes such a long way too. So start taking up
Yeah.
a little bit more space bit by bit.
I love that you're naming that experience that just is a part of the process when you're not just when you're sharing your creative work. I mean, this is like a part of the process in dating. This is a process in any form of like taking that chance on connecting with the world is that in the beginning, you're very likely going to hear crickets at least some of the time. So it's like you're putting your own energy out there and that feels really vulnerable. It's like you've got to be in a state of openness to say, "Hey, I'd be interested in meeting someone," or "Hey, this is some of my writing." And I feel like when there isn't that energetic response, which is a lot of the time, for me, that really ties into the feeling of a vulnerability hangover. It's like I've expended
Mhm.
all this energy and it's not now like coming back to me. And there's just this feeling of energy drain that can feel confusing and icky and just sort of like, feelings of regret for having put yourself out there can come up. And I love to hear how other people nurture themselves through that experience. What is that like for you? What does it feel like for you? And then how do you move through it?
Yeah, great question. I think over time it's gotten less, but I have definitely felt the vulnerability hangover and just feeling like emotionally like tired and disappointed definitely has come up. Like if I'm not getting the response that I thought I would get or the one that I wanted, or it's just not reaching the people that I wanted it to reach, or not enough people. And I think we all know, like looking at the metrics and the vanity numbers on social media can do some damage for sure. And so all of that can definitely just lead to feeling like, yeah, really disappointed. And is it time like for a break? Do I need to completely switch gears and like change up what I'm doing and like burn everything down that I've been building? And like all of those things can definitely come up for me a lot. Um, but I think again, reflecting like what I said in the beginning of this episode of like reflecting back on my mission, reminding myself of the times that I did really connect with people and how energizing that did feel, like that re-energizes me and cures the hangover and gets me like amped up and excited about continuing. Um, so yeah, I think that's how it feels. That's how I kind of reflect back and like just take a moment. I also definitely take breaks. Like I'm a marketing coach, but I will never be a person that tells you because I also write about mental health and care a lot about that part of our business as well. That we do not have to post every single day, and we can take breaks, and everything will not fall apart if we just step back for a little bit as well.
Yeah, I think it's so helpful for all of us, for anyone to hear all of that normalized, like, to
Mm.
hear from someone who is in the practice of putting their work out there as you are, that, yeah, like, it's normal to feel after you put something out there that doesn't get an immediate response, and not everything will. No, like, no matter at what level of your creative career you're at, that's always gonna be a part of the experience, and it's normal, and I totally related to what you described of like, "Ah, I'm just gonna burn this all down," and, like, for me, it's like, I'm just gonna quit everything and move to an island and somehow manufacture some kind of life where I don't have to interact with any other human ever at all. And I'm like, that's a clue that I probably need to take a long walk,
Mhm.
go hang out with a friend, like, probably need to take one of those breaks right now that you're talking about."
Yes, yes, for sure, for sure. I've always been there, and it's finally getting warm for me in Ohio, so the walks are happening more frequently. So hopefully less wanting to burn everything down.
And, like, for the listeners, if you do feel like burning everything down, like, that's okay. It's a feeling. It's, like, part of the spectrum of normal human feelings, and there's so many different ways we can take care of ourselves when those feelings come up. Um, have you are there any, like, little stories or big stories or snippets that you could share from folks who have worked with you or learned from you that have really had like a transformative path from hiding to being able to share their work?
Yeah, definitely. I think, yeah, a couple people come to mind. I have a marketing community. So people join, they come for like the templates, the strategy, and then we end up talking a lot about like mindset. And, actually, I don't want to post about my books anymore because I don't like how it feels. And so recently I was so happy because this one person that I worked with, on their book, and it was a poetry book, but it was a little bit more personal about like their childhood and things like that. And they were really doing well of talking about their story and getting a lot of engagement, but not wanting to make the link back to their book. So like no sales were coming from it, even
Mm.
though they would absolutely help a lot of the people that were commenting and engaging on those posts because they were the exact target audience for it. And so we started with those small steps and like, hey, you don't have to do any big selling and responding to people who are commenting and being like, check out my book. Like, no, no, no. But let's just start with something really small where after you tell the story, you just nudge, just a gentle nudge at the end to your book. Um, and, it didn't feel good to do that at first. So I was really excited because she just posted in our community the other day that she did it and got some sales from it as a result, and just
Oh.
started getting out of there, out of that box that she, felt like, I don't want to nudge people to my book. I don't, want to feel like I'm selling when I'm really just trying to connect with people about this topic. But it can be, that simple of just taking that little step and starting to put in that little nudge to your products and it just is lining up for her. And so hopefully she continues, seeing that experience and trusting herself more and more to make that connection and sell without that salesy feeling that none of us like. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a I love hearing that story, and what I really got out of that story is that I think one of the many forms that fear can take for people is like fear loves to tell different stories and like convince us in so many different very logical sounding stories that we shouldn't let ourselves be seen, that we should hide and keep ourselves small. And one of those stories I think is that, well, what's the point of taking a small step? Because a small step isn't gonna, you know, do much, right? But it's so not the case, and what I heard in the story you just shared is that a step that was small enough to feel safe enough, even if it felt uncomfortable, it was small enough and safe enough, and that created some momentum, and it brought in some sales, which is awesome, but the longer term, bigger impact is that this no longer feels like such a dangerous thing to do.
Hmm. Exactly. Exactly. And the more that you do that, the easier it's going to become to show up, to sell, to reach more people because now you're getting people reading your book or, purchasing your work and making that connection even stronger, and building that loyal community that's going to come back for the next book and the next one after that. So, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, and that feeling of connection, I mean, that feeling of connection is just so good. It feels really good.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm curious, I would imagine, I'm just thinking about, like, the various journeys that I've been on and I'm still on, um, and how, like, so I'll just pick an example that I've talked about a lot on the podcast, the journey of healing from chronic migraine that I experienced, and so similar to, what you described with the members of your community, that they come for the strategies and the templates and the, like, tell me what to do stuff, right? And so I entered into that journey looking for the books and the podcast to, like, tell me what to do, give me the tools, give me the strategy. And of course, what that brought me into was really like, okay, sure, there are tools and there are strategies, and those can be really helpful, but their purpose is to lead me into self-connection and into trusting myself, and that is actually gonna ripple out into so many more areas of my life than just this pain symptom and unraveling this pain symptom. So, like, it was a portal into just so much transformation in many different areas of my life. I'm curious if you relate to that in your own way. Like, has this work filtered into other areas of your life beyond marketing?
Yes, definitely. Definitely. I think just as a whole, my confidence has improved so much um, from being able to trust myself and being able to show up for myself, and knowing that I can. Like, I've been doing this consistently for almost 10 years. So, like,
Wow.
I know that I can be consistent, I can be determined, I can be dedicated. I think that's helped a lot with my relationship with my husband, who I wasn't with at the time I started off doing this, and was with, I had a lot of self-doubt and all of that. And has given me the confidence to, in our relationship, to build that up, and show up for him, and trust myself to be a good partner and a good friend and all of those things. So, yes, I think definitely it bleeds into a lot of other areas, and even just like having the confidence to like leave my corporate job to start my company. I'm now in the like process of I need to grow in my leadership, and like I'm hiring people and trusting myself in that, and that's a whole new thing for me. And so yeah, all of these like small steps have just layered up and up and up to other facets of my life for sure.
Yeah, it's so cool. And I mean, yeah, hearing about like leaving your corporate job, starting your own company, and like starting a company doing something that I don't know, when you were growing up, did you think like this is something that I could do for and like support
No.
myself with as an adult?
No. No, definitely not. I mean, I did always want to be an author, like, that was the,
Um,
dream. I don't think I ever took it seriously, like, I definitely thought, "Okay, I'm gonna, like, climb the corporate ladder, and that's gonna be my career, and then I'll write on the side." Um, so, yeah, and then as I got a little bit older, I started to get a little bit more of that entrepreneurial, like, "I think there's something here," but definitely not what I expected. Like, if you would've told me I was gonna be a poet and I was gonna teach people social media, wouldn't have believed you. So,
how how did that evolve? Like, I'm curious to hear. There's there's, um there's a quote that comes to my mind that I repeat all the time because I just feel like it encapsulates the healing process, the creative process, the entrepreneurial process, and it's from an author. It's about the writing process, so maybe you know it. E.L. Doctorow said, that writing is like driving through a fog in the dark. You can only see as far as your headlights go, but you can make the entire trip that way. I
I
probably
love
didn't quote it
that.
exactly accurately, but that's it's close. And, I'm just thinking, like, you as a kid growing up, probably like, I don't think even the career that you have now probably couldn't even have existed then because
Yeah.
the internet's changed.
Right.
Um, but what like, how did that evolve from not even knowing that this could be a career or a business to
Yeah.
doing it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I always wrote growing up. I wrote a lot of short stories. I wanted to, be a fiction novelist. So that was like what I did, through high school was write and do creative writing a lot. But going into college, I feel like we all just kind of hear this about like creative endeavors is like you're not really going to make money from that though. So like let's pick a path that is going to.
Right.
So that's what like led me down to I studied communications and marketing in college, and really liked it. And I think it allowed me to incorporate that creativity because marketing and another thing that I tell authors and creatives who come to me and they're like, I can't market. I'm like, you can because you're so creative. Like that's what you need is storytelling. And you're good at that because you're a writer and you know, creativity. We get to bring that into every facet of marketing. And so that's I was looking for something where I could still write, I could still be creative and let that favorite part of me shine. And so that's what led me to marketing. But I definitely never thought that I would be teaching it and doing it in this way. I just thought I would do the corporate thing. And I was excited about it too. I had a great job. So nothing to complain about there. It's just like I had this pool to do my own thing and to help authors and artists and creatives who were, feeling how I felt 10 years ago, struggling with my self-doubt and just being really unsure about how to get their stuff visible. So that is what pulled me to do it a few years ago. And I haven't looked back. It's been the best.
Ah, so cool. I gotta say, I love being my own boss. Like, it's not the reason I'm doing what I'm doing, but it is a big part of it.
Yeah, for sure. I think the
Yeah.
flexibility and I mean, honestly, just the trust that I have to place in myself. Like, I'm the one making any money. Like, if I don't work today, like, so
Mm.
I think that trust that you have to have in yourself is huge to keep showing up for you and for your family potentially, and all of that is probably the biggest growth that I've seen just in the past few years of doing this, because I've had to take those risks and I've had to trust myself to know what I'm doing.
Yeah. Something about what you were describing just earlier it perked my curiosity up. When you were saying that writers come to you and they say, "I can't do marketing," and you're like, "But marketing is creativity, and, like, that's what you do. That is actually your thing." I'm curious why do you think what do you think they're thinking that marketing is, and what's the misconception there? Because I have a feeling that even for folks who are neither writers nor entrepreneurs nor in, the business of doing marketing, there's probably something in here that's pretty universal.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I think the misconception is that it's like very energetic, salesy vibes, like self-promotional. You have to always be on and like dancing on camera and like all of those types of things is like that's how marketing is now. And like I don't want to do any of that. Um, I think that like the biggest misconception is just like that doesn't fit my personality. And so whenever people do see my videos, because I am on the softer spoken side and I'm not dancing and I'm a little bit quieter, both in real life and online, they're like, oh, maybe there's, an opportunity here that I don't have to do the things that I thought that I did. So yeah, I think that's like the main misconception. But whenever I tell people, like, yeah, it's actually really creative and there's not one right way to do this, um, that you can pull in your storytelling from your book or from your art and tell stories, especially like I teach mostly social media marketing. So we get to just like hook people in and get them really excited about us and tell them about either the transformation that they're going to have or how they're going to be impacted from the work that you're creating. It's really exciting if we think about it from that way. But I think another thing that does stop people, and I understand it, is like they're almost framing it as if, like, it's limiting their creativity because I have to, like, post in a
Mm,
certain format on social media, and I have to, like, hook people in, and I don't wanna do that. I just wanna, like,
mm,
write my books and kinda tell my story, like, more naturally. So I think it's also about weaving in what feels authentic to you, and we're not doing like
yeah.
clickbait, but we are, being excited and showing that emotion and um, letting our audience know why we're the best fit for them, and that can all be really exciting. It does take a little bit of a reframe if you're coming in from that perspective, though, and a mindset shift over time, that
Yeah.
it is really packaging up and presenting our work in a way that makes us feel good, but also speaks to our audience and gets them excited too.
Thank you so much for speaking to that. I got so much out of the way that you described that, and it kind of, like, clarified something for me in, like, a new, deeper way, that anytime we're stepping into an experience that feels like it's new or unfamiliar or like it's a growing edge and we're stretching ourselves, there can be this belief that I can't be if I'm stepping into something that I haven't done yet or not or that I'm not comfortable with yet, then I can't step in as me. I have to be someone else, right? And, like, I've experienced this in lots of different scenarios that folks can maybe relate to, like, when I changed careers and moved from working in television, where I was very comfortable because I'd been in that field for 10 years and I knew lots of people and I had lots of experience. And I had like my comfortable me that I showed up as in that world. And then I changed careers and became a therapist. And in the beginning and for a while, I thought, well, to be a therapist, I kind of have to become a different person who talks in this very breathy voice. And I like got this whole new wardrobe that I never wore and had to return because I got all these clothes that I thought a therapist would wear, but they just like weren't really me. Um, and even with relationships, like I just really struggled with relationships for a lot of my adult life. And it's funny, I made I felt inspired today to make an Instagram story about this, how when I met my husband, like I just had been going about dating thinking like, well, to be in the dating world, I have to be this type of woman that who knows what the heck I thought. I was trying to like fit myself into this persona and it obviously that doesn't work, right? Whether we're hiding by just like staying locked away in a room or whether we're hiding by putting a mask on, it prevents us from connecting with the people that we connect with. And so I was like, fine, I'm just going to put out this dating profile that just says all the crazy things about me that the wrong people aren't going to like. And that's exactly when I met my husband.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Yeah, and it's exactly how I feel too because I like look at other and there's nothing wrong with it at all. Like other marketers who are very like high energy, I could tell like extrovertedness and they're just all in on the energy and I do not have that. And so I was like, well, do I need to do that to get people's attention? But actually the feedback that I get is like, thank you for not because
Right.
I can tell that this is how you are and that makes me feel like I can do it too because I'm not super extroverted and all those things. So showing up as yourself is the best thing you can do. And you can't like fake fake it till you make it, I guess people say. But like whenever it comes to marketing, if you're not doing things that feel authentic to you, you're gonna burn out. You're not gonna want to do it. So it's gonna be such a much more difficult road and journey than just being yourself from the start.
It's so true, and it like this it's so that is so universal. I really relate to this with marketing, and I think it's just such a thing. People are afraid to market because they think they have to be someone else, and that feels hard, and it burns you out. And it's true in every area of life. Like I this time here like hearing how you just spoke about it, I was like, and that reminds me of my experience as a stepmom. Like I when I came into that role, I thought I had to be something, and it was exhausting, and it really made that role much it made it, like, difficult in ways it really didn't have to be.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So interesting. I love getting to have these conversations with other people who are coming from different paths, but also just on the journey of developing deeper self-trust. And in that vein, I'm curious, what is your growing edge these days? Because I feel like that it's not like a final destination type of journey, right? It's just like ongoing. What feels like a growing edge for you these days, whether it has to do with your work as an author, as a marketer, with visibility, or with something else entirely?
Yeah, I think right now is about like stepping into more of a leadership like role for myself. Um, Something that I kind of like shied away from for a while. But I've just been like the doer a lot, and the one just taking everything on.
Yes.
And so yeah, this past like year for me has been about like learning how to delegate, how to hire, how to like be a leader and one that has humanity and is good at giving feedback and like all of these things that don't come naturally to me, really. So that's like where I'm at right now is trying to step into that role and take those baby steps to getting more confident with that and learning about that and trusting my gut with these types of decisions.
Yeah. I would I mean, I'm gonna guess that that might be part of what drew you into working with the same business coach that I'm
Yeah.
working with.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
definitely part of it.
Yeah, and I'll just say in every growing edge that I'm growing into, I've always found it really helpful to have some kind of a mentor, whether it is I mean, I've worked with coaches on lots of things. Um, Other times it's like listening to a podcast and, just being in some way in the presence of someone who hasn't walked the exact steps that I'm walking because we're all different and unique, but has walked some version of it just so I'm not in like a complete amorphous, like blank page feeling space.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I That's definitely been an area where I've just been wanting to invest more in having that mentorship, and I've worked with like coaches over the years, and I just remember like finding out my coach also had a coach because I was like, "You're so successful. Like, why do you need a coach?" And just figuring out like the more that I've grown, like, no, like I need support and I need guidance and I need mentorship, no matter where you're at. So yeah, super helpful.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know, for me, it makes life more enjoyable because things don't get stale. They keep evolving.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Um, Anything else about your work or what you'd like to share that we haven't covered before I bring us into kind of my classic final 3 questions?
Sure. I don't know. I think we've covered a lot. Um, yeah, I know. I hope people are feeling inspired to get out there and like take those little steps to getting out of their comfort zone, to getting visible, to um yeah, get excited for that feeling of knowing that you are speaking to the right people and that they're waiting for you. They're waiting to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, and then it's little steps. It's taking the little, like and if it
Yeah.
if it feels too big, maybe the step isn't little enough. It's all about
Mhm.
getting into motion. Um, so going into the last 3 questions of this conversation, what is a soapbox message that you're personally passionate about spreading through this work that you're doing?
Yeah, I think I'm trying to think of something unique that we haven't covered yet, but I feel like we started on my soapboxes a little bit already, which would just be that marketing is an opportunity, that it's um, a way of letting the world know that you exist and that your work exists, and then it doesn't have to be self promotional. It doesn't have to be salesy. It doesn't have to feel uncomfortable. But that when we work so hard on creating something, we have to talk about it in order for people to know about it. It doesn't just kind of magically happen. And so, the longer that we take to start talking about it, the more, we're missing the people that are waiting and they're sitting there waiting and looking for, I'm looking for, my next thriller book, whatever it is, like you think no one's thinking that they are. And there's people who are waiting and they're looking on social media and they're looking, wherever it may be for you. And if you're not sharing, then you're not getting in front of those people when they need it. And they're asking for it too. So it's not like you're pushy, you're salesy. People get to opt in to what they want and get to make their own purchasing decisions, and you're just presenting it to them.
That's so beautiful. And it's so true. It's so human to think like, "Oh, why even bother? People aren't interested." And I'll have my moments when, if I'm recording a solo podcast episode, I'll have my moments thinking like, "Ugh, what am I even doing this for? Is anyone even wanting to listen to this?" And then I'll find myself later that same day going for a walk, listening to someone else's podcast because I need it and I am looking for it and I am searching for it. And I'm like, "Oh yeah, like I need this stuff. Other people need this stuff too." And we're offering a service when we let our work be found.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. Um, for that, I okay, this next question I feel like you have covered so well, but I'm just gonna ask it anyway. For the person who's listening, who is hearing you talk and they are feeling inspired and encouraged to take that one small step, but they're maybe also feeling overwhelmed and like, but which is the right step to take and isn't even worth it? Like, what words of encouragement would you give to the person who's in that very human place?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. We all feel that way. I would say start with the step that excites you the most. Start there because it's going to be a little bit easier to get out of your comfort zone if it's something that you at least can get a little bit of like that nervous, excited feeling for. So I would say start there. Know that your feelings are totally like normal and natural, and that it's not necessarily at all an overnight thing, that it takes time to get more comfortable. It will feel like an uphill battle a lot of times, but find ways to make it fun, um, as best as you can. And if there's like a certain format that you really like if you like writing, I always tell my writing clients, like, you don't have to start on video like tomorrow and start like showing up in that way. Like you like to write, so write and like write longer captions and tell stories and things like that versus a format that does feel very far out of reach for you right now. So yeah, find ways to make it fun. I've even had like some people in the community like find friends that are like also doing the same sort of thing, and like they'll like do filming days together or like marketing days together. Well, they'll create that content together, go somewhere exciting, go to a coffee shop together, like just finding ways to make the process a little bit more enjoyable while you're getting in the swing of things as well.
Yeah. I love that. Make it fun is always like that is always the way into flow. Um, your story is so, so inspiring to me, and I know it will be to listeners. And I would imagine there will be listeners who want to find you, follow along with you, reach out to you, maybe work with you. And so, where can folks find you, and what sorts of things can they reach out for?
Yeah, thank you. So I'm at Marketing by Shelby on like Instagram, TikTok, on YouTube. I share weekly marketing videos there, which I love doing. I'm having a lot of fun with that. And then my website is marketingbyshelby.com. I have a freebies page with free resources on marketing that you can check out. And then I have a variety of courses and guides. And then my community is the best place to get support from me. So, like we said, like there's the templates, there's the strategy, but we also have this wonderful community where people share their challenges and their struggles, and I reply back to everyone, and we do live Q and A's, and I give feedback on their social media content. So it's very hands-on and a good place to be if you want to step into your marketing genius, into your zone, and get better at it. Um, yeah, that's what I would recommend. It's called the Creatives Content Club.
Amazing. And it sounds like folks even make friends there too.
Yes, yeah, we had recently, 2 people, like, co-write a book together, which was so cool.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah,
And that's just like I feel like that is such a great example of why it is worth it. Like, it is worth it to put yourself out there. You have no idea what putting your work out there is gonna spark for other people, collaborations it'll lead to, book just it just never ends.
exactly, yeah, and I mean, this podcast interview, like, I saw a comment that you left on, my, new business coach. I reached out to you and was like, "Hey, I think we have a similar audience,"
Yeah.
and then you invited me on your podcast, and I
Yeah,
just
and I was
put
like,
myself out
"Ooh,
there
I'm
and yeah,
excited to meet you."
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So awesome. Well, yes, I'm so excited to meet you. I'm so glad that we, are connected now. I'm excited to follow along with you, and thank you so much for having this conversation today.
Thank you, it's really great, and I really appreciate the thoughtful questions and the conversation, and I hope everyone listening found it valuable, so thank you for spending this time with us.
Take care. If you enjoyed today's episode, please do me a favor. Hit that follow button so you don't miss a thing, and leave a rating or review. It helps more people find this show, and honestly, it makes my day. And if you're looking for more ways to trust yourself and start listening to that gut instinct of yours, come hang out with me on Instagram at Anna_Holtzman. Let's keep the conversation going. Thanks so much for listening, and until next time, trust yourself. You've got this.